Only fools don't change their minds.
I was going to say it in Kiswahili.
Answer the other question.
There is a question on communities. On
I'm coming to that.
Yes.
Number one, I've already picked an issue on, for example, timely disbursement of royalties. Mr. Speaker, I was talking to some people from Taita Taveta County, some community, who told me they have not received their share of royalties on a certain mine for the last 7 years. That can't work. What we need to quickly do is to ensure we create systems that function. And number one priority is that the Kenyan people primarily should be priority in terms of receiving their royalties and benefits. Mr. Speaker, we also have to have a conversation. I am looking forward, for example, to quickly engage the counties. The counties, according to the current law, receive a good chunk of royalties. Maybe we may need to look at our legal framework on how we can also cushion the communities in the counties by ensuring that we maybe ring fence some of the resources to development. Why do I say this, Mr. Speaker? You know very well, geological minerals do get depleted. There are generations that will come many, many years after us, and this country must have something to show. We can't, it just can't be a story that Kenya had this and there's nothing to show. So, Mr. Speaker, I am going to engage and create working synergies with the counties and formulate, create a framework that is efficient in disbursing royalties. And also, if I go a step further, these communities must be organized. We must organize them. We must encourage them to get into cooperatives. We must encourage them in some instances. And I like that question because it gives me an opportunity to address something that we call back home as ancestral interests. Many of us, our populations, and it's not only in the coastal region, as quarters, Mr. Speaker. I saw that during the SGR. When they were constructing the SGR, Mr. Speaker, many people were compensated, but the title holders and the residents of certain areas were completely ignored. So there are certain regulations or laws that we must, and I'd be happy to come and engage the community to see how we can improve on them. Mr. Speaker, on Honorable Koech, I haven't seen the Gemstone Center at Voi, but I'm looking forward to see it. But what I think the mining industry needs to do is to focus on private sector investment. Government should not be in the business of competing with its citizens. So there has to be concerted effort and specific focus to encourage private sector investment. Why do I say so, Honorable Koech? Because they will meet the global standards. I am not sure whether the Jameson Center in Voi is properly equipped to test and process what they get. That is an urgent business for me. I am going to look into it as soon as I have an opportunity of possibly if this honorable committee approves me, so that we even are able to test, identify what minerals should be allowed for export, what should be kept home for value addition, and what should be put in the market and what values. And I have seen it. I have seen people from Voi coming into Mombasa with a small packet of many, many gemstones and almost sell them at wholesale price. Someone else picks them up, some foreigner will pick it up, go to Hong Kong, go to Thailand, and make double or triple the money that, that Kenyan ordinary man would. So I will look into that as a matter of urgency, Honorable Koech, and I'm hoping that I see the passion in you. We'll work together.
Posing. then Gikaria, then Emase. In that order. Take those three.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Joe, I hear you talk about policies and systems. Should you get the favor of the House, my proposal will be concentrate on the actions. If you live in these policies and systems, you will leave that office with systems and policies, having not even approved. So that's my advice. But my question is, the governors who have been ministers, Honorable Joe, have not gotten a good rating from where I sit. They have been accused of being desk ministers, governors, former governors. I don't know whether they got a lot of comfort when they were governors or they became two bosses when they were governors, and therefore they are not actually seen in the field. What will you convince this committee to believe in you? And particularly, I think I like the word you said, that what we lack is confidence. I think it's true, because I come from a mineral county, which is West Pokot. Confidence of investors coming to invest, and also confidence of the people accepting investors. What will you convince this committee, Honorable Joe, that you will be in these mineral counties in building confidence, and for both sides, the investors and, or you will go to Mombasa, because now blue economy in Mombasa, will you be also be in mineral counties to build confidence? Thank you, Speaker.
Can I?
Thank you. Just record and answer them quickly in the order they came. Ikaria, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman.
Switch off your mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the exploration is something that the nominee has said he's going to look into, and I'm saying this in relation to the corporation, the National Mining Corporation, which is a corporation of government, which is in exploration and does nothing other than just getting salaries and doing nothing in exploration. As we look at, I was trying to look at the law as to whether we have timelines for exploration. I remember in the Energy Act, we have 2 years for exploration. After that, your license expires. The other bit that also needs, we need to look at is the Mineral Rights Board, the licensing board that gives, there is a lot of bureaucracy in terms of giving licenses on time. It's like they don't have a service charter for if you apply today, by what time should you be able to get your license. But the most important thing is, let me talk about the artisanal miners. Honorable Nominee, artisanal miner is a big area of employment. And of course, we know there is a cooperative that has come in place. But again, the licensing of these cooperatives and artisanal miners has become an issue with the Mineral Rights Board. So what are you going to do to help our young men and people who work in doing artisanal mining across the country, who do the illegal mining per se in quotes, but who have been applying through cooperatives, and then it takes forever for them to be able, and getting very, very bad prices or bad for the product that they get from the mines. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Mary Emase.
Thank you, Speaker. Nominee, my first one's a comment. It's good that you mentioned about redesigning our training programs. Through you, Speaker, recently the Maritime Authority advertised for jobs for Kenyans to work in the vessels. And the requirement was just basically training in hospitality, front office, and a foreign language, which is German. But I put it to you, they could hardly raise the numbers that were needed. So seriously, it is an area of concern, because we are losing out on opportunities as Kenyans, yet we're talking about unemployment. So, Honorable Nominee, if approved, I think that is one of the areas you need to seriously focus on, to ensure that we're training in all disciplines related to maritime, so that we can benefit from the opportunities. So my question is, and this is from a Kenyan, in 2010, the then Internal Security Minister, the late Honorable George Saitoti, tabled a list in Parliament containing 4 members of Parliament, including yourself as a suspected drug trafficker. The US Embassy also stated that Kenya anti-narcotic unit suspected that you were involved in narcotic trade. Are you aware of these grave allegations and the effects of drug addiction in our nation? If so, kindly shed some light on that. Thank you.
Answer those three.
Honorable Kosing, my record speaks for itself. I was not in any way a desk governor. I am a ground person. I am a ground person. That is why I left Mombasa County with the best cardiac center in the country and possibly in the continent. I left Mombasa County with state-of-the-art cancer treatment center. I left the county with a lot of social development programs that are on record. So I'm just picking a few. Mr. Speaker, today if I have a cardiac issue, I want to tell you, and I will encourage all of you and those that have visited Mombasa, if you have a cardiac issue, Coast General is your place. Because they have the state-of-the-art cath lab with well-trained doctors that constantly do open heart surgeries, fix cardiac issues quickly, and that was my leadership. So I provide leadership, and I will. And in the mining and blue economy and maritime, if you approve me, I will hit the ground running, Mr. Speaker. On matters of licensing, I don't know whether this committee understands the process that is applied on licensing, but I'll quickly share from what I found out. And I'm saying that this I found out from the private sector. Number one, you go to the potential area and engage either the landlord or the communities or the county. Then you get a consent. Then online, there is what they call the cadastre that covers the whole country in potential areas in matters mining. Then once you have the consent, you peg on the cadastre. And then at that point, you do a physical license application. And I've already heard of many instances that people have falsified documents to peg on the cadastre. That is number one hindrance on efficiency on issuing license. Because then therefore, a true potential, and this basically mostly is done by speculators. So the true potential investor does not get an opportunity to even apply. So we first of all must fix how we handle the pegging. We must have technological means of ensuring that whatever is used to peg a site meets the standards. I have had, for example, someone would just upload a newspaper, and that acts as a consent, because the technology currently doesn't have the ability to authenticate some of those documents that are uploaded. So what do I say? I say we need to digitize end to end. We must digitize it end to end. And Mr. Speaker, let me put it this way. Even in our own country, I know for sure, for certain, there are young people with enormous capacity and potential to help us develop. I must also say that I was taken by surprise when during Manamanos there are some young Kenyans who quickly developed and designed a communication program. And people are communicating like an app overnight. It tells you when people have the capacity. And for me, Mr. Speaker, if I'm approved, my urgent and priority first step is to involve the young people. They can help us grow. They can help us fix many things locally. Like, for example, I believe something like a cadastre where holds a lot of information that is very strategic for the country must be fully hosted here. Cannot be hosted, for example, by a competing country. So for us, what do? We invest in technology end to end. Right now, I'm informed that they have done it, but there's quite a human interaction phase that we must try and do away. It will create efficiency. It will also deal with corruption issues. So I hear you, Mheshimiwa, and I can tell you that that will be my priority. And also, I want to talk on the artisanal miners and licensing. They go through similar challenges, Mr. Speaker. They go exactly how a private sector investor suffers is the same way, unfortunately, the artisanal miner also suffers. So that, for me, is something that I must look into. For me, Kenyans must be allowed to exploit their wealth so that they can better their lives in a manner that is organized, safe, and most importantly, beneficial to them. So that I will do. Mheshimiwa Imase, you talked about training. I couldn't agree more that we must design our programs or the architecture of training in a manner that fits the needs of the players. We must do that. I mean, there's no two ways. What do I think I will do? Obviously, I will begin by evaluating the Bandari Academy. But I'm going also to try and forge partnership with, for example, Technical University of Mombasa, the universities around the lake areas, and many others, because those job opportunities are not only for the coastal people. They are not only, they're for every Kenyan, and therefore we must create a partnership in designing an architectural plan that conforms to what the industry needs. And I will work closely with private sector. Mr. Speaker, finally, Honorable Imase talked about a citizen that sent you SMS.
A question on this.
On the drug baron issue. You know, the irony for me is that when you want to pick records selectively, that is what challenges me. The quagmire for me is I don't understand if you come and table a report. Obviously, there must be some subsequent actions. And I want to also, this is one matter that I really hope we can put to permanent closure, Mr. Speaker. When I was campaigning in 2013, in Mombasa, there were billboards put up. Don't vote the Baron, vote change. Mr. Speaker, let me begin with that report. Yes, I thought he tabled the report on a dossier that he was given, that was passed to him through the American embassy. What normally happens is that when you table or pass a dossier, it is investigated, I believe. It is worked on. So that happened. The late Honorable Saitoti, may the Almighty rest his soul in eternal peace, came back to Parliament with a report. He came back to Parliament and tabled a report of investigation and the outcome. And it was a multi-agency, almost international investigation that clearly stated, and I'm going to only speak for myself, that no iota of evidence was found against me. Mr. Speaker, let me put it this way. I'm not a fool. I come from a family that is blessed with businesses. And I am thankful to Almighty for what I have. So number one, that investigation was concluded. Number two, Honorable mercy. First term as governor, I was the greatest critic of the Jubilee administration. Had lots of personal altercation. They came after me in businesses, in many fronts. Don't you think for a minute, if I was involved in any illegal activity, I would have survived that regime? They would quickly have used it to like they say, I remember, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, just indulge me a minute. I remember at that time, the president came to Mombasa and said, "Tutamalizana na huyu." They would have used it. So please, Kenyans, I want to assure you here today that I do clean business. Visible, that can be audited, can be seen, physical, and therefore, please, Mr. Speaker, if anybody talks about a report that was tabled on the dossier, also talk about the report that came after that, that cleared us. And I am particularly interested because first point on for me to call and try and interest investors to come, I am planning to go to the United States. They are known for big investments in mining, and it is my plan to go and engage them, interest companies from the
same
United
Americans gave you a visa to accompany me as foreign minister to the US.
Exactly, Mr. Speaker, just after that. In fact, just after the year I went.
Immediately after that.
And I've been to America many times, and I intend to continue to go to America, because America really, Mr. Speaker, I think we're going to be looking that way to get investors to come and invest, particularly in the areas of mining. So, Mr. Speaker, that matter, again, I hope it comes to permanent closure, because it's all
but don't
like education, it comes up only when they are seeing an opportunity.
But don't be pigeonholed to America. There are even bigger mining countries like Australia.
No, in Canada, Australia,
yes.
And even here, by the way, Mr. Speaker, I don't know
yes.
whether you know, I've just found out, in fact, just yesterday, that Kenyans have invested heavily in mining in Tanzania. So even here, we have them.
Are you talking about me?
Daud Murugara, order nominee, no altercations with members. Daud Murugara, then Owen, in that order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. To the nominee, Honorable Joho, what you have said about cadastral and all that, your predecessor, when he was there, Honorable Vuria, when he came for vetting in 2022, he talked about the NIS doing prospecting for all the minerals in the country. And there are minerals in Meru County, by the way, in Beo. But unfortunately, even by the time he left, he never visited Meru. So my first question to you would be, like what Honorable Posing has said, you may be a desk CS if you are approved. What will happen, I hope, because you know Meru is cold and Mombasa is hot, and you're used to the hot weather, you may feel very cold in Meru. And the same thing, on the same, there has been exploration of copper and gold in Meru. But unfortunately, the company which was prospecting, a Kenyan company, Goita Mining Limited, has been bought out by Avira Resources Limited of Australia. So my question would be, do you think that we as Kenyans will benefit, or will the benefit be for outsiders who come prospecting in Kenya and taking away everything what is there? The second question, because that was one question, Mr. Speaker, there is a question from one of our viewers, and he says, the Auditor General, that is now for the time you were as a governor in Mombasa, that there is an Auditor General report about garbage, a 1 billion shilling garbage tender, which was given to some of your relatives in Mombasa. And there is even talk that it is not Ali Hassan or Hassan Ali Joho who handled Mombasa County. It was a relative of his. I would not mention him for, it would not be right, but it was not you who were running, you were running the political part, The other part was being run by somebody else. Can you confirm or deny? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nominee, make a distinction between Meru and Tharaka Nithi. He's been talking about Meru. If I'm to say anything, it will be on Tharaka Nithi. The two are separate and distinct.
You are actually vetting the nominee on behalf of the people of Kenya.
No.
Not your constituencies, not your counties.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we have questions to ask.
You ask the question,
we have to draw that
but
distinction.
avoid the temptation to appear that you are vetting nominees on behalf of your constituencies or your counties.
I agree, Mr. Speaker, but Mr. Speaker, some questions are relevant. We have to draw.
Sir, I'm not curtailing you at all. Go on and ask.
Thank you very much for the distinction. Nominee, you began when you were responding to a question by stating that what it is that Liberia gets right and we get it wrong. And here you were talking about maritime affairs, the sea vessels. And I don't know whether you know the historical background why Liberia is actually the largest flag carrier in respect of ships. And that also goes with, it has the highest number of shipwrecks in the high seas, purely because most of those ships are condemned in their countries, and this is the reason why they find solace in going to Liberia to get national flag. So I do not know whether you wish Kenya also to take that route and emulate that. You respond. Number two, a question from a viewer who wants to know really whether the nominee is familiar with the minerals found in the country and where those minerals are to be found, including my own county, Tharaka Nithi, and my constituency, Tharaka. Then the third one is on fisheries. We have what are known as Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institutes spread across the country. Some of them are stored. They started building, but halfway they collapsed. If you are approved by this House, nominee, do you confirm that you would embrace the policy of completing those institutes, because some of them are actually meant for marine research in the hinterland? Thank you.
Thank you, George. Don't feel like I curtailed you. I was just giving direction to everybody. Owen?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to request the following information from our nominee one. Listening to you, Honorable Ali Hassan Joho, you come through as a hustler that has come from the bottom up, bottom there, coming up through many struggles. And there are very many lessons that we learned from your interaction in this committee. As you sit, if approved by this committee, if you sit in cabinet, how do you help to encourage the hustlers, especially in the mining, in the fisher? The fisher folks in in Kenya are basically hustlers who are trying to make it in life. Probably you are a good example of that. How do you intend to really bring in that to cabinet and assist the cabinet really to help the hustlers in this country who seem to have given up? Secondly, how do you use your experience in business? I can see you have good credentials in business and you've come up as a businessman. How do you intend to bring in those credentials in your business field and your experience also as governor who chaired a cabinet at the county level to assist the cabinet to really meet the aspirations of the young people who are actually hustlers, who seem to be giving up, the Gen Zs who seem to be giving up in life? How do you intend to bring that experience to help Kenyans? My second question is that specifically to the marine area, there is a marine spatial plan that has been in the works for many years. It has never succeeded, it has never taken off. Many people in the marine industry are waiting for that spatial plan. How soon can this country realize a spatial plan in the marine area? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You can take those, nominee.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Let me begin first of all by the spatial plan issue. And I believe strongly in planning from an informed position. and real-time data management and collection. Basically, if even land use is critical, that is properly planned. So this, for me, is urgent, and I'm going, if approved, to ask that it be expeditiously done, because it is important. Honorable Owen, sorry, I'm starting with you, Owen. My experience as a businessman and as a public officer, and I am glad that I've served in different spectra. I was once an assistant minister, got a lot of guidance at that time from the Honorable Speaker. He was my mentor, actually, in Parliament. I participated strongly in matters of legislation. I remember the NTSA formation was done under my watch at the 10th Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And the acumen, stature of business I got is for literally experience. And Mr. Speaker, I've run quite fairly big business, and I bring that on board to be able to capture the ideology of a business sector, combine it with public sector, so that we can be able to deliver on behalf of the country. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure Honorable Owen, those wavuvis or fisher folks or artisan fishermen, they need help. They need help to be organized. They need, for example, we must find means, whether by way of partnership or government funding or private sector. And this, for me, is an area of interest because I am aware of the Go Blue conversation. Many young Kenyans have been sponsored, but we need really now to start sponsoring them for deep sea fishing. Because even if they use what they have today, they can achieve that much. But if we get them to go deep sea fishing, then now for me that will be the game changer, and that is what I will undertake to do if this committee approves me. Mr. Speaker, on matters of stalled projects, government should not have any stalled project. You must plan well. Mheshimiwa Murugara. Government should not have stalled projects. We must develop plans that do work, so that when you start something, you must finish. And like Owen asked, I gained that experience from private sector practice. Value for money and timely delivery is critical. So expect that we'll have a conversation. First of all, I'm not in a position today to say I know all the stalled projects, but we will have a conversation and develop a clear plan to be able to complete the stalled projects. We don't want a situation where we embark on new projects and we leave the old ones stalled. My brother Dawood, you talked about NIS prospecting report. I'm not in a position right now to comment about it. But I have an issue on communication that must improve. And I would urge even my colleagues in other ministries that ministries must help the president to communicate to Kenyans. If we had a clear communication plan, you probably wouldn't need this opportunity to ask, what do we have in the country? So I will go to the ministry if approved, learn what they have, and I promise I will communicate to the Kenyan public of what they have. Mr. Dawood, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Dawood asked on exploration of gold and copper in Meru, and the fact that the miners or the mining company exchange hands. I think the fact that companies do exchange hands doesn't mean the law on royalties change. It should remain, and they should continue to pay royalties both to the communities, county government, and national government. So I doubt if the government would lose. The only thing that I am concerned about, and I think we collectively should, is the testing of minerals, whether we have that capacity in the country. Because I'm told I took some time and called some minister friend I have in another country that's very successful in mining. I'm told in instances where you mine copper, you are very likely to get good deposits of gold. But what the miners do is that they only report copper. So therefore, we urgently need to enhance our testing capacity and ground truthing. And I will happily visit you in Meru, in Tharaka, in Migori. I'll go to Suna, I'll go to Kikuyu, I'll go to Turkana. Turkana has the potential of exporting large quantity of what they call mango tilapia. Huge market for mango tilapia in DRC. I have to go there and see how we can improve on that. I will go to Busia for gold and value addition. I'll go to Kakamega and the larger Western. Everywhere where there's potential for minerals. I will go to ensure, first of all, we involve the communities, we work with the counties, we secure the communities, we engage on matters of environmental impact. So I will be visiting every part of this country, Mr. Dawood, including Tharaka and Meru. And Pokot. And Kosin is a fairly blessed man. I hope he lost
everywhere.
And everywhere.
Yes.
But I want Kosin to undertake that he'll host me when I go there. So prepare some sumptuous cuisine. On the 1 billion tender, I saw it. Mr. Speaker, let me confirm. This is a matter that was audited, dealt with, investigated by the anti-corruption and the DC and everybody, and it was concluded. First and foremost, it has never been 1 billion. The contract, yes, it was a tender advertised. Someone won the bid, not from my family. My family is in the logistics business. They are extremely busy. In fact, sometimes I even struggle to encourage them to help me with social programs and our foundation. They are too busy. They have no time to do government business. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, just to put to the record, my family does not do business with any government entity. We are in logistic business in Tanzania, in Uganda, in South Sudan, in Dubai, and here in Kenya. So please be assured, my family is not in any way involved in that tender. And the actual amount that was being investigated, Mr. Speaker, was just about 200 million, paid to the company that won the bid over a period of 3 years. The way it is portrayed is like I went to the county coffers, issued a check of 1 billion and gave to my cousin. That is not the case. It was a tender, advertised, someone applied. It's only that I cannot mention the name of the guy who won the tender. But even him, he did bid in that tender for just helping us to achieve certain environmental standards. He was already a big billionaire. So he's such a setup just where, and he outbid everybody. So in the period of 3 years, Mr. Dawood paid 290 million. And it was investigated and concluded.
We also received some memorandum on that. You've answered all the three. Now let's go to Robert Mbui.
Mr. Speaker, I haven't answered the issue on Liberia.
Okay.
And it is very important.
Okay.
And I want to inform Honorable Murugara that yes, there may be historical issues.